afternoon, Rian Kutsia, Fortis Proactive Defense Solutions. I'm back with Mohammed Ismail, one of the loan operator students. Mohammed is currently busy with his third year on the loan operator course. Mohammed, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Rian, and welcome back as well to you. Okay.
I want to talk to you about your journey with moving on, your progression from shooting with iron sights to optics, specifically a red dot sight that you run on your gun, and how you find the difference between the two. As somebody who's now used both for quite some time, how did you find what the process of moving over from iron sights to an optic sight, like your red dot, and how did it affect your accuracy and your speed at the end of the day?
Okay, like I said in the previous video, I've been shooting from the age of 16, so that puts me about 30 years of shooting. And most of that, I'd say at least 25 have been with iron sights in both self-defense type shooting courses, training and that, as well as IPSC competition. So I've been shooting iron sights for around 25 years. And with age, the eyes start going, and I found it a little bit more challenging to pick up my front sight without glasses. And when I put on the glasses, then the targets became blurry. So that prompted me to start looking at alternatives. And it was also around that time that the red dot started gaining traction in combat or IPSC shooting, not really making it the transition yet into the EDC or everyday carry. So on my shadow, I put a red dot, a hollow sun red dot. I think it was a 504 on the shadow. And I started playing with it and learning to shoot the red dot. In terms of speed, initially it is a lot slower to go onto the red dot because you need to learn to pick the red dot up. Normally when you come, you'll see the guys come up and then there's a fiddle looking for the dot and then they find the dot. So up until the point where you get to naturally point and see your dot, you are quite a bit slower with the dot than with iron sights. And putting in that work to overcome the picking up of the dot and learning to pick up the dot correctly is what puts a lot of people off from transitioning to a red dot. But I had Trotsky and a couple of guys on the LO course that gave me a couple of good pointers as to what to do, and the daily putting in your 5 minutes daily with the dot has helped me a lot in picking up the dot quickly now. So now on targets, close targets, anything up to 5-7 meters, I'm not picking up a difference between a dot and iron sights on a human-sized target. All right. On a plucky, the dot is definitely much better because you're only looking at one focal point. You're looking at the target. Whereas with iron sights on the plucky, you still have to focus on 3 different focal planes. So the plucky shoot, anything you're looking at with a dot, much easier, much faster than with iron sights. Out to 7 meters on a zone, I'm equally fast on iron sights and a dot. 10 meters and further, the dot is king.
Okay.
Right? Much faster with a dot, 10 meters and further, and more than 15 meters, I can't see the target unless I'm wearing, not wearing my glasses, but then I can't see the front sight. So the dot beyond 15 meters, for me, it's a no-brainer because I've put in the work to transition and my eyes are not what they used to be.
Yeah, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
It happens. For the viewers, you've heard Mohammed talk about the plucky shoot quite a bit. If you want to find out what that is, why don't you join us on one of the loan operator courses, and we shall be happy to introduce you, and then you will know. Mohammed, I think that covers it. What I just want to end with maybe is in terms of maintenance and carrying your firearm with the red dot. What changes did you have to make in that respect? Do you now have to carry a spare battery with you? You obviously had to change your holster for everyday carry. What did you have to do, and how did you find that process?
Okay, the holster wasn't too much of a issue because I just took it to the guy that made my holster initially, and he just cut the holster and finished off the edge to accommodate for the dot. So there wasn't much of a change in accommodating for the dot, transitioning from no dot to a dot, right?
Okay.
In terms of what dot I eventually settled for, I looked at a couple of things and I settled on the Holosun FCS, which is solar charging sight, right?
Okay.
Because that ticked all the boxes, that particular site ticked all the boxes for me, except one, which was that it's an open emitter, not a closed emitter dot. The difference between an open emitter and a closed emitter is an open emitter, dirt and debris can get into the site and block the laser coming out, giving on the dot. If it does, and if you don't maintain your site and keep it clean. In the 3-4 years that I'm carrying it, that has never happened to me. And I've run my dot under difficult conditions where Shalto shot the dot from the front with a paintball.
Oh, I'm certain he had a good laugh at that.
Yeah, but because the dot is being projected onto the glass, the back of the glass, the dot's still there. So whether your front sight is open or not, and you're shooting with both eyes open. So part of the training that you do to pick up the dot is you put a sticker on the front of the dot to teach yourself to look with both eyes open and not to look for the dot on the glass, but to look for the dot on the target. So Shalto shooting the glass and messing it with paint made absolutely no difference to my ability to shoot. I could still see what I needed to see to make the shots.
Okay.
Right? So that's the difference between the closed and open emitter. The closed emitter is closed from the front and the back, so no debris can get into the emitter or onto the emitter where it's going to become a problem for you to see your dot. But I haven't experienced it, and I have run my dot in fairly difficult conditions where in the lone operator course, you go down, your gun gets full of dirt, full of mud, full of shit, and I've still run it without a problem. I haven't picked up a problem with having an open emitter, right? So that was the one box that was not ticked with a solar charging one. All the other boxes that I looked at was that it was solar charging, so there's no battery. You don't have to worry about a battery running down. It needs a little bit of sunlight just to charge the battery. And in the 4 or 5 years that I'm running it, it hasn't died on me.
Okay.
I haven't had a situation where I bring my gun up and the dot is not there. It's always been there and it's always been bright enough. The second thing that made me go for this was most of the other dots have a single source where it's looking at what brightness to set the dot at. This has two. So it's got a sensor from the front or from the top, which most of the other dots have, but it also has a forward-looking sensor. And where this makes a difference with most of the other dots, when you transition from dark into light, it takes a second for that dot to bump up the brightness.
Oh, yes.
Where the dots washed out. And this is instantaneously. I have not found that there was any lag on the SCS. Or if I'm looking from a bright into dark, where the dot is now washed out because I'm standing in bright light and looking into dark, or the other way around, where I'm looking from dark into bright light, and now the dot is too bright. The SCS has a sensor to say, okay, I'm in the dark, but my target is in the bright, so I need to dumb this dot down. I'm in the light and my target is in the dark, I need to bump it up. So that's one bit of technology that I haven't seen on any other red dot, right?
Okay.
So, and the other thing that the SCS is, it's cut for a specific gun. So you don't need a interface plate.
That helps.
Right? So it sits a lot lower and your iron sights co-witness with the dot. So you don't need to change your iron sights to suppressor height sights for you to get a co-witness on the dot.
So I think I think it's safe enough to then conclude this conversation by saying you are a big proponent of a red dot sight.
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, I've put a red dot sight on my wife's gun, which is also a Glock 19, and both my son and daughter have recently acquired P10Cs, and I've started them out on a dot rather than iron sights. They have shot iron sights, they know how to shoot iron sights, but I've put them onto a dot from day one. And both of them are really loving the dot.
Okay, well, that's good news. Mohammed, thank you so much. I think that's very valid information because people are always asking these questions. You know, do I move over to a red dot? Don't I? And there are so many stories floating around that it's always good to hear from people who are actually doing it and have been doing it for a long time and have got real experience with it. So thank you so much for sharing that with us.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And thank you for having me.
You're always welcome. For the viewers, as always, there's a link below the video in the description if you want to check out the information on the loan operator courses. We hope to see you on a range one of these days. If you like the video, you know how this works by now. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click on that bell icon so that you can receive notifications of future videos. Mohammed, thank you. That's me. Have a good day.
Thank you, Rian, for having me. Until next time, you have a great day as well. Bye.